Get, you see people in real life, and you're like, was I like that years ago? Good afternoon. Welcome to another week of We the People. Geez, it does work, Trish. It fits. So,
Oh, wonderful.
we've got a full house here today. We'll get into that in a couple minutes after Hyacinth does her community announcements.
Hello, everyone. It's Monday. I hope you're all doing well out there today, and I hope you're watching us.
St. Patrick's Day week.
Yeah. Oh, it was a nice parade. It wasn't
The
as
high
crowded
holidays.
It wasn't as crowded as the year before.
Especially with the weather. I thought it would have been enormous crowds. But
Yeah, but it was a good turnout.
Yeah, okay.
And so we really, I really enjoy myself, and that's the only parade I actually go anyway. So
Well, you're
I just-
Irish, I think, right?
Yes, I am Irish. Yeah. So again, it's Monday, and I want to do some announcement from the South End Wellness Senior Center. A couple of things are happening this week. Okay, so Tuesday from 10 to 12, memory tests. The Hartford Hospital is coming down, and they're going to give you like an iPad, and you can do stuff in there, and they'll test your memory and stuff like that. So that's really good. And Wednesday we have the market, the mobile market is coming in. And also blood pressure with the Hispanic Health Council. They're coming over to do blood pressures, things like that. And Santos, yeah. Information is about service health benefit. Again, I talked about it the last time we were here about trying to get people into place to get some health service at great feeling like you're actually being heard. Because most of the time when you go to doctors these days, nobody listens to you anymore. They're just rushing you out like a herd, stuff like that.
Well, there was something online yesterday. There was a man that was terminally ill in a hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And he found out about it through a robot.
Yeah.
The robot came in his room, the doctor was on the other end of the screen, and told him he was dying.
Wow.
Had so many months to live from a robot.
Well, how dare that robot tell me how long I have to live? You know what I'm saying? That's not right. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be on Thursday the 14th, and everything is pretty much 11 o'clock or so at the Wellness Center. Okay, what you have here? 15 is a special. Oh, that's our St. Patrick dinner that they're having. Again, I also want to mention that about our trip, and I really want to emphasize this because we're trying to get people to go to this trip to Canada. And it's going to be in September, but we need to start getting people sign up so we can have a good bus load of people that is willing to go.
And let's face it, third or fourth year you've done that?
We've been doing it for a little bit now, yeah. It's really good. 5 days, 4 nights for only $530, and your hotels and your dinner and breakfast is included. What else could you ask for that? And you're going to see some world most famous fall. Okay, magnificent Toronto. You can go on that, tall, what they call it, the sightseeing place that you look. Lots of places, casino, whatever, beautiful garden, stuff like that. I think it's just nice to get away sometimes, though. Okay, don't forget now we have Mondays, 10 to 11. It's exercise with Jeffrey. It's aerobics, and it's really good. Wednesday, and then Thursday, 10 to 11. Friday, 10 to 11. It's aerobics and we also have Tai Chi. Today we had Tai Chi at 11. You can also go to that too. Kevin, I think you'd be good at doing that because it helps your muscle movement. No, it's not a thing you have to be rig around. Like, just nice and movement is good for your health and medical. And also, I also want to remind people about this coming Thursday is the March meeting at 6 p.m. It's NRZ time again.
Didn't we just have one?
I know. The reason why it seems so close to each other is
Valentine's
because of Valentine's Day, and I had pushed it back a week. And so we have the new Public Works Director coming, and we also have the new development person too. So that would be interesting to hear what they have to say. Public Works got a lot of work in them. Did you say you find that information about
I did
Obama?
not. I'm sorry.
You can't find it?
No.
Oh, okay.
We'll talk
Yeah,
about it
Obama
next
doing
week.
young people development leadership, and it's gonna happen age group from 18 to 25. I think he's trying to do a leadership training to get more young people involved and how to become leaders and even political leaders too.
I think he was doing it in 2 cities, and Hartford was one of the
Harvard
cities.
was
they
one
chose.
of them, and I think you can go to the library, perhaps, or you could call the city, and then they probably can give you some of that information to do that. So again, lunch every day at Southern Wellness Senior Center, sewing. We're gonna start doing jewelry now and stuff like that. Ceramic and computer class is really important. Computer class on Tuesdays from 3 to 4:30. At the Southern Wellness Senior Center. So we do have a lot of stuff to offer. So please get involved and don't be sitting home twinkling your fingers and be alone. Just get involved, All right.
And before we go into the actual show, just want to ask
Oh.
people at home to keep in your thoughts and prayers our former police chief, Jim Rovella,
Yeah.
who's
his
now the
father
Commissioner of
passed.
Public Safety. His father died last Thursday morning.
Yeah.
The wake is tonight, the funeral's tomorrow.
Yeah.
And he lived
Our hearts and
90,
prayers.
91 or 92 years
Yeah,
old.
he lived
so-
a good life.
And he-
Yeah, live a good life,
And as when Chief Ravella called me last Friday morning to tell me he had passed, I said, well, one thing you got to be sure of is you made your father proud over the years.
Yes.
And he says, yeah, he used to tell me that all the time.
Yeah.
So,
And to see his son become commissioner, he was still alive and aware of when that happened. So I think it's overall good, None of us live forever, so that's
So we might just have the next Commissioner of State Police sitting with us today. Who
Oh
knows?
yeah, who's that?
Could be any one of them.
Okay, all right. So we have ladies here today, and it's
It
really
wouldn't be the
important.
first because we just finished up with a Commissioner of Public Safety who was a woman from New York City.
That's right.
And she was a Hartford resident. She actually lived downtown on Trumbull Street.
Oh, that's
But
wonderful.
what we want to talk about today is
So why don't we go around and say
Yeah,
who these?
Lieutenant Marisol Rodriguez Velez is in charge of recruiting the PAL program, the cadets, the explorers. Officer Tiffany Wilson is a relatively new member of the department. And Cadet Rivera, who will hopefully be wearing that uniform one of these days.
Hopefully soon.
So, and eventually wearing that uniform, maybe even a couple stars on your collar, who
That's right.
knows? But we just want to talk about opportunities in the police department for women, what got you into police work, and just your thoughts about the police department.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you for the invite. Thank you for
You're
having
welcome.
us here. And I look forward to more invitations as we move forward. So we currently are in our hiring process right now. We currently have an open application, and your viewers can go on policeapp.com and submit their application. Obviously, we want all qualified applicants and viewers to apply, but yes, as you mentioned, we are in short supply when it comes to our female population and officers in blue. The deadline is April 1st. But until then, we encourage everyone that's 21 years of age, a U.S. citizen, have a valid driver's license and a high school or a GED diploma. Currently, our makeup department in Hartford, when it comes to female officers, out of 384 current sworn police officers, only 48 make up the female population of women in blue. So because of that, we are aware of that, Kevin, and we're out there encouraging the females, women, to apply, and we're doing that by avenues of going through having presentations over at the YWCA. We're going to universities and colleges
Good. I was gonna ask you
that
that.
are predominantly
Yeah.
women-based, such as St. Joseph's College. We've gone there several times.
But it doesn't necessarily have to be just women college. You could go to any college because there's quite a bit of women in college now. Remember, we're a women's lib, and so we want to be able to do everything that we want to
Correct.
do without any.
And we've gone to, obviously here, Capital Community College, we've gone to Manchester Community College, we've gone out of the state to West Springfield and Springfield College. We have a career fair in 2 weeks over at John Jay Community College. But yeah, it's also important to note that in addition to all the colleges, we're not just focusing on criminal justice majors. We obviously, like I said, we want to get the best candidate possible. So, we're looking at the sports departments in all these universities and colleges as well.
Yeah.
Now, how do we compare to the national average? Aren't we a little higher than most when it comes to females in police work?
You know that, Kevin, I'm sorry, I don't have that information
I
with
thought
me.
we were-
That's the one
But
thing
that would
I
be a
didn't
good
look
trend
at
to
the
look at.
average.
That would be a good trend to look at in general. What I would like to see more of, though, is going into the high school. Kids are hitting 18 years old. To try to get them into that cadet program so we can mold them
Yes.
to what we want them to
Absolutely, and that is my vision, Kevin, and what I've proposed, and I've already submitted a proposal to command staff, is to create a pipeline from PAL to the Explorers to the cadet programs to then cadets come into our recruitment to become recruits. So what I've proposed is in partnership with the Board of Education, the superintendent, Leslie Torres. Is Leslie Torres Rodriguez or Rodriguez
Mhm.
hyphen
Yeah,
Torres?
I know what that
She's
is.
hyphenated,
Mhm.
yeah. So we're gonna start, we need to integrate back and engage with the kids at a young level, at
Yes.
obviously elementary.
Mhm.
So, in doing all my research, because as you mentioned, Kevin, I'm not only in charge of recruitment, but I'm also in charge of retention, so I need to
Yeah,
think long-term.
retention is important.
Long-term, so we're gonna start this Fist Bump Fridays. And it's something that started in Boston. Boston PD and several other counties started this, but what they were doing were High Five Fridays. But I was quickly corrected by the superintendent and said, well, that's kind of old. Kids don't high five anymore. They do more of a fist bump. So we've identified two schools. We're gonna pilot the program April 1st.
All right, I hope.
No, but actually, she's identified two schools,
Okay.
Maria Sanchez and Milner. So one in the south end and one in the north end. And we're just gonna have probably our CSOs, our cadets there, and they're just gonna be there in the morning and just give them like, hey, good morning, have a great day, good
That's
job
a great
for coming.
relationship
Okay,
building. Mhm.
so that's the first portion of it. The second portion is gonna be motivational Mondays. So it's gonna be the same concept. We're gonna have officers just in the morning. So in the morning on a Monday, we're gonna have them like, great job, you got this. See you at the
Stay
end of
in
the
school,
week. Stay in
do
school.
good.
And then on Friday, we'll have officers there to give them the fist bump Friday, so that we can have more positive engagement
need
with
that.
with the youth, so that they can then want to become and be a part of the PAL program, right? Which is right now. I think we need to redirect that and make sure that we have more uniformed police officers in there versus civilians. I don't know if you're aware that it's currently manned by civilian employees, that Aetna runs it. So, but this all has to do with recruitment, because we don't have enough police officers to be able to put in full-time positions dedicated to programs such as PAL. But it's important, because that's where we're going to get our homegrown Hartford residents to be interested in becoming uniformed
Well,
personnel.
that's been part of the problem is, traditionally over the years, we don't focus on recruiting until the numbers start getting down so low that it becomes a crisis. What it should be is a constant process. So you have, a list of people ready to come in. Tiffany, I know you mentioned that you were in corporate America until you realized you wanted to, for whatever reason, wanted to become a police officer. How did that happen?
Well, I've always wanted to be a police officer. I eventually wanted to go into the military right after high school. However, it was frowned upon my mother, and you do what your mama say. And so I was the first to go to college, the first to graduate college, and I got quickly into the work field with the dream of always wanting to be a police officer. You get stuck in the black hole of the vacation time and working from home, and then I had a baby, and then I had to keep up with the insurance, and then my dream of always wanting to become a police officer just kept being pushed in the back burner until I was in my 40s, and I realized if I want this to happen, I need to do it before my knees give out. So I decided, let me do this now. 18 years in corporate, if it doesn't work out, you can't take that experience away from me. If it doesn't work out, I can always go back. I'm here now, and I don't plan on going anywhere.
Good, good. What
Now
about
that,
you?
now that you're here, how does that compare to the dream you had when you wanted to get into it?
You know what? It's nothing like you see on TV.
Of course not.
The writing is a little bit more excessive than I anticipated. However, it's just like learning anything new. If you want it and it's your dream, you'll make sure you're good at it so you can continue to be part of it.
Now, how do you feel yourself received in a city like Hartford? Does the community accept female police officers? Is it a little more stressful for you? How do you see that interaction? Or doesn't it matter to most people?
I have to honestly say that when I was in the academy, my sergeant stated, you out of everyone in this class will have it harder than anyone else.
You have to work harder.
I was the only black female officer in my academy, and when it's 50-50 when I go out there, I can be well received by the people that look like me, and it can be the total opposite when I'm working really hard to have my questions answered during my investigation because they just can't relate. Told that I'm a sellout, that regardless of what I'm wearing, I'm still black underneath. And those are hard things to hear when you just want to be there to help.
But isn't that what, as a community, isn't that what we want? People that can relate to the members of the community?
Yes, absolutely, we do, but we have to keep in mind that they have the stigma about what police officers are, regardless of what color they are. So it's really hard to turn those things around when they're already instilled in their head.
But one thing you have to put in your head and remember always, dear, that you'll never satisfy everyone. So you're gonna go through the world and to the earth and to the community thinking, I'm going to do the best at all times. Of course, if everyone think you're wonderful, we have a different world. But it's the reality that we have to live in. You're gonna go out there. You're gonna respect your community, and you hope and expect to get that respect back. You
You're
know.
absolutely right, ma'am.
So I think those are really so critical for you as an officer out there as a female. But you're gonna stand tall and understanding that this is what you love to do, and you're gonna show them that you're passionate about it. It doesn't matter what they may say. You know, people will say a lot of stuff, but it's what you're gonna put in your head and believe. All right. So it's really important for you to stay strong, and stand tall about what you do.
You know, you go to these calls and no two calls are the same, and
Right.
you absolutely have to conform over to the person you're talking with.
Mhm.
You know, you can go in and as nice as possible, and then sometimes you have to be just a little bit extra stern because of how they're perceiving you.
Now, do you find that you've got to work even harder to prove yourself on every call because you're a female officer?
Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know I go to these calls and they immediately size you up. You know, female. You know, black. You know, how
I think
new
they do
are
that
you?
with any officer, though, right?
Yeah,
You know,
they do. You know, but your treatment can be totally different depending on the kind of treatment that they received in the past. with someone
Right,
else.
right.
And that's-
Kevin, this is what, as I know, that is really, really important. Respect, give it, respect, receive it. And yes, sometimes you have people with mental health issues, so they don't know anything about respect and stuff like that. So you have to figure out, is this person have some mental health issue, you know, or this person is just plain rude, or whatever the case may be. So it's the training that you need to continuously having to address the community that you work in. That's really so important.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, that's one of the things, you know, when we occasionally are invited in to speak to the academy classes, that's one of the things, you know, I usually try to bring up is it's all about respect, because the person, if you treat somebody like garbage today, that could be the same person that's saving your butt tomorrow when you get into a jam. So you got to treat everybody with respect, and, you know, especially in a city like Hartford, forget about the preconceived notions. Everybody's a human being, they all deserve respect. Do you find, to any of you, in this current climate that we're in today, it's not like 20 years ago where we would have 1,000 officers, 1,000 applicants show up to take the police test.
It's very hard.
It's harder now to find people, but is it even harder to talk people into becoming a police officer with whether it's what they read in the paper or see in the media? You know, most people see police as the bad guys.
Yeah, absolutely,
So-
Kevin, and that is correct. I mean, I've only been doing this particular position for about 6 months. But it's the negative perception out there that I'm working against, right? And trying to recruit qualified applicants is nobody really wants to be a police officer anymore. You know, it's okay. Everybody is wants to be a firefighter, but nobody's really banging down any doors to be a police officer. And it does have to do a lot with all the negative media that's out there, whether it's your traditional media sites or out on your social media sites with Instagram and Twitter. And what we're dealing with today, we weren't dealing with just 10, 15, just the other day, 10 years ago. We didn't have all Facebook and social and Twitter. And so we as a law enforcement community, we need to get ahead of the narrative and make sure that whenever something negative is put out there, because this is a profession like any other, right? We're all individuals. Everybody, and whether you're in the medical profession or any other profession, there's always that one person that's disgruntled, that's unhappy, that's just miserable. Well, we have that in law enforcement too, for whatever reason. I mean, we're people too. We're human too. We have lives. We have husbands. We have kids. We have lives outside of work. That I mean, should we make sure that when we come into work that day that we leave all that behind? But some people are not able to.
It's not always possible to do that.
It's not.
Right.
And that, it's the same thing for officers going home. Who knows what that officer saw on their shift? Did they see a baby die because it was abused?
Yeah.
Or the terrible things you see every day. But
So I wanted to know, are you guys being respected in your department by your male counterparts? Because that's really important for your male counterpart to understand that you are one of the officers too that need to be respected, and you're doing just as hard a job as they are.
I mean, in my experience, I haven't experienced anything negative. I think it's all an individual. We're all sizing each other up. Because that's just the nature of the beast when it comes to law enforcement. I don't think it has anything to do with gender. I think it just has to do with can that officer back me up? Are they going to be able to get on a ground fight if need be? I don't think it has anything to do with gender. I just think until you get to know each other as partners, you get to know each other's strengths and weaknesses. So in my experience, I don't think it has anything to do with gender. I think it just has to do with who you're working with. I need to be able to go out on a call with Tiffany and know that she has my back. Whether this was Tiffany Wilson or whether it was just Officer Mike Wilson, I need to know that you have my back. So it's gaining that confidence between whoever, whether it's A squad, B squad, whoever your partner and who you're working with, you need to be able to have confidence. So
right.
In my opinion, I don't think it has anything to do with gender.
Well, wonderful. That's good to hear. So because of course, partnership is really so important, because you guys need to be able to understand each other to make a better world or a better job. I want to hear from this young lady over here and tell me, what did you graduate from Harvard High or Buckley?
No, I graduated from Buckley.
Okay, good. Well,
Well,
my
that's
kids
what
graduated from Harvard High.
I was going to ask her, she's probably the closest one of any of us sitting here to the high school years. So what's the perception of police officers and police work in high school? Is it something Hartford kids would think about doing, or is it pretty much...
Well, at the time that I was attending Buckley High School, we needed a certain amount of community service hours in order to graduate and stuff like that. A couple things have changed since then. But I actually joined the Police Explorers when I was 15 years old in order to just gain community service hours. Policing is not something that was on my to-do list, especially at that time. It was kind of like, hey, here's a program. My mom has always, put me out there. I did Girl Scouts, I did this, I took classes in this, so she's always had me involved. So I took the opportunity, I went to the meetings, and I ended up being an explorer for the past 6 years. And then that also got me involved to move on to the cadet program. So my love for law enforcement started there, and it's like how the lieutenant stated, that vision. I'm living proof of that vision. You start off, you get that positive reinforcement from law enforcement. I can say now that at 21 years old, my mentors, the people that inspire me in life, are people in law enforcement, are people in that uniform. When you walk in, it's showing that utmost respect, because I want to be there one day. You know, you start from the beginning, and they're just mentors in all aspects of life. So I also am a college student, so I attend Eastern Connecticut State University, and I also work for the police department now. So.
Wonderful.
And
So
I
you-
just want to point out, because
Go.
she's being very shy here, is that she's on a full scholarship, paid scholarship at her college. And when she was coming up through the ranks, she went from sergeant as an
Well, I
explorer.
started as a lieutenant, and then I worked my way up to the chief's position over the years.
In the
I
explorer
I
program,
was
so.
a
we
retiree
have
chief
ranking
of the
system.
explorer.
So you do have.
Yeah.
The
A
pension's
chief.
not as good as
See.
the real chief.
Yeah. So the explorers is all voluntary work, and it's all
So,
community service.
so you will be that perfect person to get back into our high schools and start talking to the young people.
Absolutely.
Okay, because if you walk into Harvard High or Buckley today, and I think maybe Buckley might be in a little more orderly than Harvard High
Yeah,
at this point.
Definitely.
But I think you would be that perfect person to go in there and let these kids, understand and get a concept of what it is to become.
Absolutely.
Because I'm going to tell you why. Because young people in high school these days have this negativity around officers, and maybe duly so, because either they hear or they might have experience with the negative things, and so therefore you will be that perfect person to get into these high school to talk to. Because as I said, yeah, we can get the from they're in elementary school. But we want to look at this high school piece that nobody's really actually tapping into. And there is young people there that probably wants to do it, but they need that person like you to come in and say, hey, Johnny or Mary, hey, this is a great career
But see,
for
that's
the
part of the
future.
problem though, and I don't know if it was done because of budget cuts or staffing issues. We removed all of our police officers out of our schools.
School resources.
So we
Yes.
have no real
Yes.
mentors
Right.
or role models for people in the schools nowadays.
Right, but you see, that piece, I want to tell you about that, because I remember when Chief Barry, Chief Roberts, I worked with them to, push to get this officer, and that's how it started, to get an officer in our schools. However, over the years, it has became, I'm the teacher, you're the officer. Hey, officer, come over here, get Johnny.
Yes.
Johnny is probably in handcuffs. We did not want that in the school. The officer was supposed to be in that school to talk about, hey, Johnny, you need to go to class, honey. Look, you could become an officer one day,
And-
or you could become something, a lawyer or something.
But you're
That's what
correct.
it
You're
was
correct,
supposed to
because
be.
I was a school resource officer for about 4 years. The first 4 years when I started here at Hartford, and I think what happened was that the staff members kind of used us as a crutch when
Right.
they did not want to deal with
With
the
the issue.
discipline
Mhm.
issues. So yeah, I think that kind of got
Got out of hand.
It got well, not in my school it didn't, but I can see how maybe a younger officer with not that much experience, and you have a teacher telling you, or the
Come on over.
superintendent, not the superintendent,
The
excuse me,
principal
the
or
principal
somebody.
telling you, and then you have to be able to have the nerve and say, well, no, absolutely not. This is more of a school issue. This is
Building
something that
relationships,
needs to be
that's
held
what-
in the school.
Yeah.
But see, that's also part of the problem, the short-sightedness or the vision, because it hasn't been recently, but when Chief Ravella was here, whenever they were looking for budget cuts, one of the first spots they would look at would be the cadet program. And Chief Ravella used to say, that's my minority recruitment program. That's how I get kids from the schools and get Hartford residents, is the cadet program, the Explorer program. And they would cut back on it. And it's also a huge benefit to us as taxpayers, because the money we spend on training for a police officer, and then after a few months on the road, they say, hey, this isn't for me, I'm calling it quits. At least with the cadet program, they experience different aspects and know, yeah, okay, this is a career for me, or no, I just can't, deal with blood, I can't deal with the mayhem, it's not a career for me. So it's a great opportunity, and I don't know what you've seen so far or what you've experienced.
There's a lot of exposure. Within just my 6 months of being a cadet, I've experienced patrol. I've experienced the Special Investigations Unit, which is working with the detectives upstairs.